Once there was a brave little monkey named Miss Baker. Born in Peru, Miss Baker was a squirrel monkey. As a squirrel monkey, she was small enough to fit inside a shoebox, and yet her tiny body would not hold her back from doing big things. In the late 1950s, Miss Baker was living in a pet store in Miami, Florida. It was there she and 25 other squirrel monkeys were recruited by the United States Navy to see who would get to be the next monkey in space. At that time, the United States had yet to send a human to space. They had sent animals before, but had never been able to bring one back successfully to Earth. It was a dangerous mission these monkeys were training for. But if humans would ever go to space and come home themselves, brave animals needed to make the trip first to prove it was possible. The monkeys all moved to the Naval Aviation Medical School in Pensacola, Florida, and began their training. They were put to the test, with Miss Baker's smart mind and loving personality helping her shine above the rest. Miss Baker was so sweet that the doctors at the school nicknamed her TLC, for tender loving care. It was ultimately decided that Miss Baker had the right stuff to be a Monkeynaut, and she was chosen for the next space mission. This mission was a joint effort between the US Army and the Navy, with Miss Baker going to space alongside a 7-pound rhesus monkey from the Army named Miss Abel. On May 28, 1959, Miss Abel and Miss Baker were strapped into the nose cone of a Jupiter rocket and were a go for spaceflight.
Miles out into space they travel. 15 minutes and 1,700 ground miles later, the capsule is fished from the waters of the Caribbean.
Miss Abel and Miss Baker were famous. They were the first American animals to go to space and come back unharmed. They found themselves on the covers of newspapers and magazines, receiving praise and numerous awards for their accomplishments. Sadly, 4 days after the flight, Miss Abel passed away as doctors prepared to perform surgery on her. However, Miss Baker was able to return home to Pensacola. Retired from spaceflight, Miss Baker settled into a life of comfort, enjoying her retirement. She even met and married a fellow squirrel monkey named Big George. In 1971, the Navy began looking for a new home for Miss Baker and Big George. The Washington Zoo, the San Diego Zoo, the Kennedy Space Center, and the Alabama Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama, all wanted the famous Miss Baker to come and live there. Ed Buckbee, the director of the Alabama Space and Rocket Center, asked famous rocket scientist Dr. Wernher von Braun to send a letter to the Navy explaining why the Rocket Center would be a great home for Miss Baker. After all, it was a Huntsville-designed Jupiter rocket that launched Miss Baker and Miss Abel to space. The Navy agreed with Dr. von Braun, and on June 30th, 1971, Miss Baker and Big George moved into the Alabama Space and Rocket Center. Miss Baker and Big George's home at the Rocket Center was comfortable and spacious, with air conditioning and running water, as well as exercise bars to play on. People came to the Rocket Center each and every day just to see Miss Baker, the first American lady in space. Miss Baker proved so popular, she got fan mail, about 100 letters a week. To help Miss Baker answer all of her fans, Miss Baker had her own personal secretary, who would send back a potograph signed by Miss Baker herself. In 1979, Big George passed away, and Miss Baker found herself alone for the first time in nearly 20 years. Lonely, her handlers at the Rocket Center introduced Miss Baker to Norman, another squirrel monkey. Miss Baker and Norman hit it off and were married just 3 months later. By 1984, Miss Baker had become the oldest living squirrel monkey in captivity at 27 years old. It was time for her to rejoin Miss Abel and Big George. Miss Baker passed away on November 29th, 1984. A funeral was held for her at the Space and Rocket Center, where Miss Baker was buried beside Big George. To this day, people still visit and leave bananas on Miss Baker's grave, remembering the larger-than-life squirrel monkey who defied all odds and opened the door for humans to go to space.